Hey everyone, Tina with Life and Stories, and I am here with another episode. Somebody I met on Clubhouse, and we have a lot in common. So I was really excited to, reach out to him to see if he can come and chat with us. And I have Gary Roberts, and he is the founder of Promises Recovery Center. But we also have another thing in common that we both started CBD companies for someone in our family member who struggled with addiction. So, Gary, how are you?
I am doing awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. Really
Yeah,
excited.
yeah, thrilled. So tell us your story.
Okay, well, the story actually started as a more of a my CBD company started more of a personal story. In other words, I wanted to do it more for myself because I was, athletic and I was in fitness, so I wanted to recover better. So that's how I kind of investigated that aspect of it, of CBD. Never even heard of it. I'm a firefighter, 15-year veteran, so smoking
Thank you for your
marijuana.
service. Sorry.
Thank you. So smoking marijuana or anything else really didn't come to mind at all. So when it came up that they're going to start opening different facilities in South Florida, I'm like, okay, let me investigate what it can do for us firefighters or athletes and stuff like that. And as I was investigating, it was still illegal on this side, so I had to actually try some stuff from the West Coast. And
Okay.
when you order from the West Coast, it comes in these little funky little packages because they weren't allowed to interstate them then. So
Yeah.
it said something like facial cream or something,
Yep.
so nobody would know.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. It didn't work. It tasted terrible. I didn't know what was in it, and I was like, this has to be some sort of snake oil. And as I was investigating more and more companies, my youngest daughter, came to us and she said she needed to go to rehab. I just found out. I guess my wife knew before, and it was kind of like her third time in rehab. She had a car accident a couple of like 6 months before, and she ended up taking opiates and getting stuck on that, and then slowly began meeting people in the I guess in the heroin industry. So when she couldn't get opiates, she ended up falling back into that. And her last stint in rehab, when she came out, as I was still investigating the CBD part, she says, "Hey, listen, I'm more high in rehab than out of rehab. This is not really doing anything for me. We need to figure out what we can do." Well, that changed my focus on CBD from me to what it could do for her. So I started investigating more medical aspects of it, how it could help her and everything else. And and that was the same time I think 60 Minutes came out with Dr. Senguta. I think it's the last episode where it showed that CBD can help regrow the receptors between the brain for those who are taking opiates in the middle. And I went, boom.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There it is. That's what I'm looking for. So now I just need to find a place to get it because it still wasn't legal in the East Coast. And I'm like, nothing that I felt worked. So I really don't think it'll work. And finally, I went to a holistic doctor for myself, got some blood work done. And she goes, "Hey, listen, I'm going to a cannabis convention here. Do you want to come and check it out?" And I went, "Okay, why not?" And that's where I was introduced to this farm out in Colorado. They sent me some product. Of course, I test everything on myself. I'm like the guinea pig for myself on everything. And I was going through Achilles tendonitis at the time. And after I took the first dropper underneath the tongue, within 20 minutes, my pain in my Achilles went from an 8 to a 3.
Isn't it amazing how
It,
quick?
it's amazing how I was blown away. And of course, my wife's like, you just wasted more money. It's a placebo effect. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Mr. Fitness guy here goes back to the gym, starts doing jump rope, trying to mess myself up even more
Oh
to see
my God.
see if it'll work. And no, it stayed at 3 and then slowly went away. I says, okay, let's contact this farm and let's get some product out here. Let's try it on my daughter. And that almost, I would say, the weekend or maybe even a week before, that's when she had her last batch with, we didn't know what it was. And she ended up passing away 3 days before her birthday. So she was actually on life support for 3 days. And I had to make the decision to actually pull the plug.
I'm sorry.
But
And how
yeah,
old was she?
that was her 27th birthday, the day I pulled the plug. So,
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. And unfortunately, more and more, it's not stopping.
no.
It's not stopping. It's gotten worse with COVID. The human interaction, and like I said, I have a similar story. I created somebody's medical marijuana business up in New Jersey. Didn't really know anything about the hemp side, and that's how I found out about it, the hemp side. And my daughter was overdosing left and right. She has a million lives that she's going to run out one day, though. And I think that year that was 2018, and her boyfriend died, and Bobby died in 2016, and it's just worse and worse. And by the grace of God, she's always found. I mean, she just like I'm literally told her, "You have a guardian angel. You're here for a reason." But so I, said to her, try this. And so I had her vaping CBD at first. She couldn't. Interesting thing, she couldn't do THC. It gave her the opposite effect. She's, high anxiety, and the CBD did work for a little bit, but she just lacked the interest. So I just moved on, and so we developed Kate, and then my son and I went out in Colorado. I found Folium Bioscience. I went to this huge convention in New York City. I can't remember what it's called. I just happened to be in the area, and they had this convention, and I was able to go the next day, which was a public day. And I went to all the because I was looking for months, and I kept finding people. I don't know if you ran into this, that really didn't have their own farm. And so you would contact them, and I'd say, before I give you all this big PO, can I come visit your farm? Can I come visit your facility? And I kept getting no. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna, give you any money. So then finally I found the Folium folks, and my son and I went out and visited July of 2018. They were wonderful. Loved everything about it. And so that, I developed my plan with them at first. And we did a whole thing with my recovery meeting. I made a deal that if you keep coming to recovery and you take the CBD. I had a group of people who just came out of incarceration due to drug, and and like you said about the rehab, they were more drugged up in jail than they were on the outside. They all came with what we call jail meds. And I needed to get these girls, they're all girls. I needed to get these girls off these jail meds. They
Right.
were like zombies. And a lot of medication you just can't stop because it'll be a problem.
Right.
So we did this whole thing with just the CBD soft gels, just 25 milligrams, the soft gels. Some people vaped, and we were really successful. And it was our 6-week trial, and I just took it and ran with it. And so even now, everybody knew coming into Kate, if they come to my Smart Recovery class, I have the conversation with them, and I'm like, look, you can get free CBD here if you want, because it's a mission company, if you want to get off, your Xanax or, low level stuff,
Right.
so yeah, but tell me about the first responders connection.
Well, well, that's what happened. Just to go back to my daughter, because I know I understand exactly what you said. She came out. We took her out the last time, and they went, okay, you got to go see the psychologist. And the psychologist went in there. She goes, okay, well, here's your prescription for Valium and Soma. And I'm like, okay, well, we just spent 30 days in here not to get off this stuff, and you're giving her a whole bunch of other stuff. So it made no sense. And so that's where we created the Promises Recovery. She wanted to start it, and we created a whole fitness, basically kind of like a fitness and CBD, where you'd get free CBD, but we'd also work on your fitness, because as a
Neat.
fitness expert, nutritional person, we wanted to work on the inside out,
Yes, I love it.
not just give you something. We wanted to give you something that you feel good, because when you feel good inside, you're going to feel good all the time, and you have less chance you're actually going to go back. And in the fitness community, we own a CrossFit gym. In the CrossFit community, it's a community, kind of like the same community they felt when they were in rehab. That's why a lot of people return to rehab, because they felt like they're somebody.
And they're
They
safe.
go
Support.
exactly.
Hmm.
They go in there and they go, "Hey, how's it going, Lauren? How's it going?" This, so they felt comfortable. So going back there wasn't a big deal. Well, we wanted to create another community where they felt good and start mixing them up with different people.
Love
So
that.
they would actually build that community, and now they have another community outside the rehab, which they feel comfortable going. So that was the whole process of Promises. And to do that, I wanted to get some good firefighters in there and see how they would mix with them and everything else. So I had one guy. We just got our company up and running. Of course, the hectic stuff about getting the company up and running with
Yeah.
payment processors and banks, and
Oh yeah.
it's like pulling your hair out.
Yeah.
But I got this one guy. He says, "Hey, I got some neck problems." I was like, "All right." I knew him for a while. I didn't, we were friends, but I didn't know his personal life. And I gave it to him. And I get a phone call 3 days later. And he goes, "Hey, dude." He goes, "What's in this stuff?" I'm like, "Uh oh."
Magic.
"Did you get a drug test and you got popped?" I'm like, "What?" Because I tested to make sure everything was, perfect for you. He goes, "No, no, that's nothing like that." He goes, "I'm going to tell you." He goes, "For the last 2 years, I've been hearing voices. I got a divorce. I couldn't stand my kids. I was really in a dark place. I didn't want to live. Every day was a battle for me to live." And he goes, "In the 3 days that I've been on it, your stuff, the voices have quieted down. I enjoy my kids, and I have this reinvigoration for life.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
that was the other mind blowing moment. Like myself, now somebody else telling me this, I'm like, okay. And then the 60-minute thing, I'm like, okay, let's revamp this whole sell CBD just because it does everything, and let's focus on what we can do with it. And that's where we decided, okay, we're going to make helping first responders and addiction our priority. That's why we're making our product. We know it does a bunch of other stuff, but let's focus on them. And that's basically what I've been doing. And as a firefighter, what a federally legal product, it's kind of, you're always on your toes trying to think, okay, am I going to get in trouble? Are they going to come after me? Are they going to make me an example? And for the first about year and a half, I was pretty much doing really word of mouth,
Yeah.
silent. I wasn't really pushing it. Wasn't really, they would come to me and ask questions, and I would just say this, it's the big joke. Oh, it's the pot dude. It's the drug dealing fireman. All this, and like, it was annoying, but it kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
And then I get his phone call from my chief, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." He goes, "I hear you like sell some CBD and stuff like that." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you come downtown?" I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Do I need like union representation on my way down there?" He goes, "No, we just need to talk to you." I'm like, so the whole drive there, for the 30-minute drive there in traffic, I'm sweating.
You're worried. Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, this is it. This is where they're going to nail me and everything else." And what ended up happening is just one of the chiefs wanted to ask me a bunch of questions about it, and now he's one of my clients.
And now when was this? When did you found your company?
Uh,
Or
immediately
after
after,
the new
immediately when the Farm Bill was signed in
the new one?
2018, immediately
Yeah.
the next day, I arranged everything up to then, so like as soon as they did it, we were ready to go. So
Right. Yeah. I
that's
was
what we
stuck
did
in
it.
the
So
middle there because I started before the new farm bill, so I had to be real careful
yeah,
at first. I think 6 months.
yeah,
Um,
I was just putting stuff together, putting people together, and people in the background trying to figure out how to do it, trying to make labels, trying to understand all the legalities of the website, and of course the payment processing issue, which was like basically
yeah.
punching
Let me
myself in
tell
the
you. So a
head.
bunch of us here in the hemp organization, PayPal shut us down. This was 2018. Shut us all down all at once, and then held our money. And so we all pooled our money, got a lawyer because they're going to hold our money for something ridiculous like 6 months, like 180 days. And at the time, I was so busy at the time. It may have been tax season. I don't remember. For whatever reason, I had like $3,000 in there, so it was a decent chunk. And I'm like, oh no. And so I think they held it like 56 days, but it was so ridiculous. Well, Square, partnered with Wix, and so said, yeah, we'll do CBD, but the problem is, my husband and I got another notice a couple weeks ago. They're holding our deposits because you go against our terms, and I'm like, what? And the problem is you keep asking them, well, what's the issue? What's the issue? And I kept getting that canned response. Went to the Facebook Messenger, going, what is the issue? And I go, because I'm not taking down my client testimonials. There are no health claims on my website. I made sure it was scrubbed. So it's very weird they have such control over that, you know. And that's because it's tied to the fact that it's cannabis, still a Schedule One with federal. Now, obviously, the Moore bill passed the House. I see it passing. Everybody's like, no, it'll never pass the Senate. I see it passing because they need the money. We have
Yep.
32 states, 34 states now that it's legalized. There's going to be a push. We need the money. Our you know, yeah, deficit is huge, and but it's really the prison lobbyists and the pharmaceutical lobbyists that are fighting hard because their world is going to end if they legalize marijuana.
Yeah, they see people growing their own medication. They're like, okay,
Yep.
we're out of business.
Yeah, and that is why there's such challenges with CBD. I don't know. Are you ever successful boosting a Facebook ad? Because we're not.
Oh no, my IP account on my IG and Facebook account have been burnt. I can't put any ads on.
Yeah,
I can't even
neither can
I
we.
can't even put a article with education on it.
Yeah,
It's no good.
yeah. So we have to be careful there. And I feel like this is so ridiculous. This is so, less harmful than alcohol, much more less harmful than pharmaceutical, industry. And not to say that you see that kind of stuff on Facebook, but my point is there's a whole other gamut of harmful things that you see on Facebook, and then there's this little innocuous plant, and we can't advertise it. It's just so
Exactly. And then you got the big people who are doing the behind the kind of like the black mark advertising. They're paying $50,000 to $100,000 a month just to
yep,
get their name out there. Then they
yep.
get them shut down all the time, and they're back up, shut down, and back up. And it's like, okay, so
And I
I'm
tell
not
people
going to
because I'm
compete.
small,
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
competing
small.
with that. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
I got to pay
Eh,
$50,000 a month just to hopefully sell a bottle of $100. That would be
yeah.
bad economics for a business owner.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So same thing, word of mouth. And typically I do a lot of markets, in whatever, but yeah, but it's, great that you find your niche. And that's what I kind of did. I'm focusing on the people that need to get off harmful pharmaceuticals. I focus on the elderly population because of where I am down in my office is close to a huge town called Sun City. And the fact is, I have the capacity to talk to a person, right? Person to person. Where the big companies, I tell people, or I hear people all the time saying, well, I bought it online, and they have no idea what they bought, how to use it. I just one woman pouring it in her coffee. I'm like, so we make our own cream, which helps. So I always, want to reach out to other CBD people because we're strengths in numbers. There's plenty of business for everybody, but there's strength in numbers to try to get people to understand. Try this first.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's where I went to the. We actually educated a group of orthopedic surgeons,
Oh,
and
great.
now we're part of that orthopedic group that keeps referring their patients to us to actually
Ah, love
use
it.
CBD instead of opiates. And the cool thing about it is that we always say, listen, they can call us. It's just up the street from us. We'll meet them in your office and discuss with them personally.
Yeah.
It's like so they can reach out at us anytime. So we have this perfect relationship. But the podcast is what I decided to actually go to start educating and building kind of like a portfolio so that I can make a presentation at fire departments so that people can
Yeah.
understand, people can see people's stories of A, CBD helped them either physically or mentally, or B, people were arrested for possession or something. Now they've built a multi-billion-dollar industry helping others.
Yeah.
So the plant is more than just CBD and stuff. Like I had one guy, they're building a plane out of the plant. So
Yeah. The hemp. Yeah. You can do so much with hemp because it's so strong and resilient. And I was speaking in front of military groups before COVID, and I was just loving it because so many of them were not handled properly at the VA, and that was so sad and shocking. And they wanted medical marijuana. And I hear their story. I'm like, you know what? You don't need THC. You don't. You will be completely fine with CBD. And so that was thrilling to me to help our veterans and our retired veterans that just are not just being fed pills that they don't want to take from the VA because their quality of life. Who wants to sleep all day long?
exactly, and that's one of the biggest things I talk about in some of the. I go in some of the sports rooms and the rooms on Clubhouse, and what I end up doing is like, okay, you guys are doing great, but what about all the firefighters? You guys call 911 when you blow your knee out on the fields, or you hurt yourself when you get hit with a baseball or something. How come you guys have the right to CBD and recover, but these guys like us who are continuously seeing this type of thing or beating up our bodies on a daily basis don't get access? We need to understand that, okay, athletes do great and they do awesome. Even when they're on medical cannabis or cannabis, they still are able to hit a baseball at 100 miles an hour. There is no reason that on the days off after seeing 4 or 6 dead kids, or in my case, my first shift back from my daughter having an overdose, I'm in 2 overdoses already, bringing people back, wondering, okay, why couldn't somebody bring my girl back?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so what do I have the choice of? I have the choice of taking Valium, taking stuff to sleep, or going out and drinking. Those are all suitable. Those are all fine. But yet I can't take like a gummy to relax or anything else just to take it easy whatsoever. Even hemp with the 0.3%, I'm still get gigged for failing a drug test. So
Yeah. And that
that's where I'm educating
sad.
everybody else. I understand the athletes need it, but
Yeah.
there's people like veterans, firefighters, police officers that need it a lot more.
No, I agree with you, and that's why we went with Folium in the very beginning because they still are the only ones who grow the THC free plant. So we went with them, and then we ended up going with their retail arm. A bunch of people who were at Folium, all were on the East Coast, and that and because I already developed partnerships, I just followed them, back over here, and so because a lot of our clients and teachers and firefighters and deputies had to make sure they never, popped. And and I said, I can bet my mother's life on it with this. And now we do have a product that is full spectrum. That's usually for my people who are not working anymore and they just need that tiny, tiny, tiny bit of, usually arthritis. But yeah, we the THC free movement was strong for a little bit. I see it coming away. I don't think that's necessarily good until the more bills passed. Um, but it is what they're calling broad spectrum, without the THC at all, and then of course the full spectrum that has that point 0.3. I visited a farm up in New York where I'm from, and they were popping point 0.8 and they couldn't figure it out.
Right.
So what do they
Yeah.
do? They have to throw it all away. Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
exactly. And a lot of people don't understand. Even the broad spectrum, it still has the THCV in it, so it's
Yeah.
not like it's completely THC free. They still have the acid part of the THC in it. So if you get a drug test that's really finicky, you're gonna
Yes,
get
test
popped. You're
it.
gonna get popped for it. So even though you can sell it as a full spectrum plant without
Yeah.
THC, don't. If you guys like me, I said don't do it. Don't take that chance. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not worth your career or your retirement and stuff like that.
And
So
that's
and
just so
then
sad,
it
like I
is.
said, a completely, you can go to work drunk, that's okay. You might,
Yeah. You can drink work hungover or something, but you can't take a 0.3% THC capsule or something because that does nothing for you or except make you feel pain or make you relax.
yeah.
You can't do that, but you can come hungover and still have like a 0.08%, and it's just not just nonsense. I don't know if you had this, but my biggest thing was actually find a proper third party testing company.
Oh no, actually, you and I have to talk if you're in Florida, offline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've called. I have a pretty good one now that the DEA. There's a DEA registered facility, but
Okay.
I remember I went to one facility and they go, okay, so what do you want it to say? I'm like, excuse me, what do you mean what I
Yeah.
wanted to say? I wanted to say what's in the bottle. He goes, yeah, but we can alter it just a little so it makes your product look good. I'm like, no,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not what I'm
yeah.
looking for.
Now let me understand. You are, so yours is hemp derived. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's weird. Yeah, that's strange that
So
they said that's true.
that's where I went down the route that okay, so not all these testing companies are actually legit. So now I have to go find the proper ones that are legit, and you pay a little extra, but it's worth it for the people you're serving.
What's your most popular product? Would you
Right now it's
would
the
you say?
THC, the isolate, because I give it to all firefighters, mostly the
Yeah.
firefighter one. But I just got some gummies in with the 0.3%. Those are actually they seem to be really really going hot. That and I got some CBG and CBD gel caps.
Yeah, the gel caps. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta be careful in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we switched to veggie caps for a little bit because it was crazy trying to, you know, mail them out, even the gummies, and now they're not gummies anymore. And we'll talk about that offline after we're done with the podcast. I'll give you some pointers about some things. But I just hope that we can figure this out and just, sell it. Now in the state of Florida, thank God, of course, it's a plant, under Department of Agricultural. But when you mail outside of Florida, like for a while, none of my Ohio people could buy from me, hint, hint, for a little bit. For like a month, Ohio tried to say, nope, can't do it. And I'm like, and then I finally talked to one of my friends who's a lawyer, and he goes, bullshit. Ooh, sorry. About my podcast. He's like, it's interstate commerce. This stuff. Ohio can't say anything when you buy outside of Ohio. I'm like, oh my God. And so we pulled it up, sent it to all my Ohio people. We were back in business with them, but this was a couple of years ago, but it's so funny because I just am like, what are we doing here?
Exactly. It's
A plant.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I'm for the whole. Let's bring a little bit more regulation and get all the
Yes.
mom and pa's and the people just trying to make a dollar out. I'm
Yeah, the
like,
bad.
let,
I'm right there with you. When Florida started to make their own, because I used to live right across from the fairgrounds, and that's where they had the meetings. And I was all for that too, because it just breaks my heart when people come to me, especially my folks on a fixed income, and they have paid like $180 for a bottle of crap. And I'm like, yeah, for that same bottle, it's $50, or forgive me, but I am not a supporter of MLMs.
no,
Not at
me
all.
neither. No,
I am not, because they're not in it for the product. They're in it for their little cute little pyramid scheme. So, and
exactly,
I
exactly.
have no, I can say it, I care less because it's factual. I already know what defamation is, and truth always trumps in defense. And yeah, and the HempWorks folks and the Pure Vita and all those people who have this level, I'll never, I won't support you.
Yeah, it's
You
not.
know,
It's not. But
it's
now
not about people.
they lost a lot, especially in Florida, because now with the regulations of where you have to have a facility, you have to have a license. All the mom and pops that are downstream are like, "Oh, I'm out. I ain't renting a building just so I can be on your
Yeah,
downline." Nope, not happening. So
yeah,
I was happy to see that happen. But still, some places are still trying to sell it in Florida that don't have a license. We went to one nutritional store. They were selling it. We were going to say, okay, well, we're going to give you some product, but do you have a license to sell? He goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the next day when we were going to drop it off, they got closed down and all their stuff confiscated because they didn't have a license. So you still got the people trying to make the dollar,
yeah.
and people just need to stop doing that. Just let the people that need it get it,
Yep.
and stop worrying about making that the dollar. The dollar will come later on when everybody's happy with what they buy.
Yeah, and then again, it's the personal relationships that when you're small enough that you build with your customers. I stopped by. I'm from Syracuse, and there's a gentleman up there, former veteran called Empire CBD, and then I knew he struggled a little bit because New York was going back and forth with the regulation. Can't do edibles. Can't do. I mean, it was all over the place, and I felt really bad for him because I thought this is a cluster. And that's just sad because again, it's just a plant. It's no different than your nursery, you know,
Right.
your cocoa plant. I always tell people I used to start out saying, it's no different than like CBD oil, no different than olive oil, no different than avocado oil. You take a plant, you press it down in this big, huge machine because I've seen it, and you come out with the oil, and then you come out with some byproduct.
Exactly. That's what it is. That's all it is. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
it is. So what's on the horizon for you? What's going on? So what do you we definitely need to connect Promise Recovery with Kate. So we need to connect there, and then
We're looking to it. We're looking to slowly build our program. We're still trying to build our facility,
yeah,
but with COVID and all that, kind of might have
yeah,
taken a little back seat. So we're trying to
yep,
put a little bit of our program together so we can actually start it slowly online and see how it does. It'll be a little bit different because we need a little
good.
bit of accountability with all that. So we're doing that. But mainly, I've started actually advocating in front of firefighters. I've talked to a few people in the state of Florida that were actually trying to change the rules for firefighters to have access. A company that I'm talking with is a nonprofit. They just did it in Virginia for the firefighters of Virginia.
Good.
So I'm talking with them, and I'm hoping to write legislation with the people that are actually did it before, like R.B. Barrasso from Green Roads. He wrote the legislation for us in 2018, the pilot program. So I'm talking with him and trying to get some pointers to see if we can write something for first responders, at least get them access to the hemp point, 3%.
Yes,
That's it.
yes,
Just don't. I don't care about the medical marijuana. That'll come later.
yeah.
Let's just get them so that if they do decide to take that, so it helps them relax a little more, they don't lose their retirement or their life savings just because you guys caught them on a thing that has absolutely no side effects, does absolutely nothing to stop impair you whatsoever. Even if you drink the whole darn bottle,
I know.
you just feel a lot happier. That's about it. But
You know what happens when you take too much CBD? Because I do.
excuse me.
Do you know what happens when you take too much CBD?
I actually tested it out. I
What
actually
happened to
tested
you?
it. I think I got up to about 300 milligrams or close to four that one day,
Yeah.
and it was like this total eye opening but blissful thing. Felt like not I was lightheaded. Everything was so clear. It was like I was walking around going, "Oh my god,
Well, I'll tell
I,
you
I
what.
really need to do something now."
You know what? Yes, I got none of that. What happened is when the gummies first came in, I was in my office and I have a sugar addiction, and I had a girl working with me, and she was intellectually disabled, and we both looked, and no, the gumdrops. It was before gummies, the gumdrops, and we both went like this and went like that, and I probably ate like at least 8 of them at 25
Ooh.
milligrams. Let's just say it cleaned out my system. And I tell people, you better be careful with those gumdrops. It clean me out. They tell me, oh, you have constipation here, have a gummy.
Yeah,
It's worth
there you
it.
go.
Yeah, that was
That's
so
funny.
funny. Yeah, they were gumdrops at first, and they moved to gummies. And now I'm not sure if you're aware, but everyone's moving away from the gummies because they're afraid of I can't remember the Jelly Belly, whatever the patent holder for the gummy shape. So many of the large manufacturers are moving away and going back to just a square or a drop
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm looking
gummy,
at right now.
yeah, is really actual patented shape. So nobody thought about that, before, but it is. So we no longer have gummies. Or gummy bears. We just have the gummies now. So, and I love them. That's what I'm on because it helps my sugar addiction. When I feel that urge, that's when I pop my CBD in.
Yeah, we started calling them chews instead of gummies. As
Yeah,
gummies is
yeah,
so.
yeah. That works. That does. That absolutely works. Well, anything you want to say before we end? Anything going on, or you want people to know? Well, we should say your website, how to find you. Tell us how people find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on my Instagram is Good Dudes at Good Dudes Grow.
Okay.
That's also the name of my podcast that you can find on iTunes, Pandora, or all the podcast stations. That's basically, like I said, if you want to learn from celebrities, superstars, or the average person, their stories. I'm trying to grow that to make a portfolio to make it present to fire departments. And also our website, if you want to look at our products, is www.pbzcbd.com. And Promises Recovery is promisesrecoverycenters.com. So you can go there and see both those.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll grab that from you so I can put it on when I post this. But well, Gary, thank you so much. I really
Thank you for
appreciate.
having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking with me. And again, this is Tina McGlynn, another episode of Life and Stories. And tune in next time for another story. Thanks, guys. Bye.